This episode is brought to you in part through the patronage of Ariya Norinth. You too can become a patron over at patreon.com/drunkenwriting, where you can get exclusive videos, bunch of extra goodies, and have a say in what content comes out each and every month. Now, on to the episode.
I think we'll go with a little Bohemian Rhapsody, gentlemen.
Good call.
That's how I, not even yet 6 years old, was first introduced to the mastery that is Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody through the musical shenanigans of one Wayne Campbell and Garth Algar in 1992's Wayne's World. And given the song's resurgence after that movie, it seems I probably wasn't alone in that. But I wonder how many other 5-year-olds went out and demanded that their parents buy a VHS copy of the Bohemian Rhapsody music video and then watched it on repeat over and over and over and over again. I mean, this is a weird video. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. And yes, I still have my VHS copy. Somewhere. Not entirely sure where. Probably at my parents' house. In an attic. In a box. Somewhere. And it didn't make it onto many a mixtape and playlist of mine, including these tapes that I made for a sort of cross-country road trip that my parents took way back when that eventually got stolen out of my dad's truck. You know, we didn't live in the best neighborhood, but that doesn't matter. You know, the song is one of the best songs of all time, and it holds up. It holds up so extremely well. It's better than most songs that you hear today. Far better than almost every song you hear today. Probably every song you hear today. Which is probably why there's a new movie coming out under its name. A biopic of its writer and lead singer, Freddie Mercury. But if you think about it, Bohemian Rhapsody is a weird song. It has no chorus. It's a mishmash of a bunch of musical styles. There's no real through line. It goes up and down and over and all around the place. There's no reason it should be so critically lauded for it. I mean, the thing is nearly 6 minutes long. Get to the point already, you know? Oh, and it was probably the most expensive single ever made. At least at the point that it was made. And, get this, we don't even know what the song is actually about. We listen to it, we sing it. I sing it all the time, and a bit of carpool karaoke. I get up in there, I start screaming it and singing it, and I can't hit the Freddie Mercury notes, but I love it. And yeah, I mean, what is it about this song that makes us want to sing it karaoke style all the time? Or is that just me? Is it just me? Well, whatever. Let's dig into it, shall we? Bohemian Rhapsody was written by Freddie Mercury, the late lead singer of Queen. And though it was first released in Halloween 1975, it either borrowed from or built directly on material that he had written previously. We know that thanks to Chris Smith, a keyboardist for the briefly existing band Smile, of which Freddie Mercury was sort of an unofficial member. But Chris Smith said one of their earliest songs, the Cowboy song, maybe also possibly titled The Real Life, started off with the lyrics, "Mama just killed a man." Sound familiar?
Mama just killed a man.
Also seems like something a cowboy might say, right? You can kind of see the connection there. But that's just the beginning of the Bohemian Rhapsody, which has nothing to do with cowboys in its final iteration. At least I think it doesn't. Does it? No. No. Well, maybe we can glean something of its meaning in the structure of the song. Now, there are 6 somewhat unique sections of Bohemian Rhapsody. Some would say 5. But let me lay it out for you. We start off with the brief a cappella introduction.
Is this the real life?
Then this lengthy, piano-driven ballad interspersed with guitar riffs, bass plucks, and the like. Followed by a kick-ass guitar solo, which leads into probably the most memorable part of the song, the operatic heart of the song, where we get the Mamma Mias, the Galileos, etc.
I see a little silhouette of a man.
That transitions immediately into this hard rock, up-tempo, head-banging climax, and leads us into this quieter, more introspective coda.
Nothing really matters
This is not the way songs are generally made. 6, maybe 5, various sections of different musical styles intermixed to create one super long 6-minute ballad? No, that's not how you create a song. And there are so few examples of other songs like this. Maybe, there's a sort of handful. You could probably come up with 1 or 2 that kind of touches on the same thing. Maybe, Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell, maybe a couple Led Zeppelin songs. There is one previous Queen song, The March of the Black Queen. That comes pretty close. If you haven't heard it, it's also about 6 minutes long. It doesn't have a chorus. And, fun fact, it is so complicated it cannot be performed live. But it doesn't hold a candle to the Bohemian Rhapsody in any way, shape, or form. It's a good song. Don't get me wrong. I quite enjoy it. But it's not the Bohemian Rhapsody. Yes, Bohemian Rhapsody, very complicated. Maybe not as complicated as The March of the Black Queen, but very much loved. And in a 2009 piece for The Guardian, music critic Tom Service wrote about Bohemian Rhapsody and the peculiarity of it, especially in terms of, yes, karaoke. He wrote, "The song manages a sleight of musical hand that only a handful of real master musicians have managed. The illusion that its huge variety of styles are unified into a single statement, a drama that somehow makes sense. It's a classic example of the unity and diversity that high-minded musical commentators have heard in the symphonies of Beethoven or the operas of Mozart. And that's exactly what the piece is. A miniature, operatic, rhapsodic, symphonic tone poem." I mean, obviously, right? I knew that. I agree. I concur. It's a good job. Good description. But, I feel for the other members of Queen. Just imagine Freddie Mercury coming in and just throwing down his sticky notes with the scribbles of Bohemian Rhapsody all over it and just drumming on the guitar, just slamming on the keys and just banging out this music and then saying something along the lines of, "And this is where the operatic section would be." You get a bit of a look at how this might have gone down in the trailer for the new film.
"This is where the operatic section comes in."
Oh, the operatic section, yeah.
But just imagine being in the studio for this. Just imagine how awed, how confused you would be sitting there hearing this. Operatic section. It'd be like seeing a single stroke of a Picasso and trying to envision the final painting. And lending to the song's magic, that's pretty much exactly how Bohemian Rhapsody was recorded, stroke by stroke. The operatic section alone took about 3 weeks to record, with Freddie Mercury, Brian May, and drummer Roger Taylor singing up to 12 hours a day. Singing their parts up to 12 hours a day for 3 whole weeks. Which, when I guess you realize there are 180 dubs of certain sections, like particularly the Galileos, you can get it. You can feel it. You get why it would take so long. But geez, that's a long time. By the way, the tapes at that time were only 24 track. So they had to keep overdubbing and mixing and remixing and dubbing down to get it onto this single tape. And we know that because of Brian May, who went out to say that at one point you could actually see right through the film, right through the tape. You're not supposed to see through the tape when you're recording on it. Brian May, I should point out, he did say that his guitar solo done in one take on one track. So we gotta give credit where credit's due. You know what we need to talk about? The video. I said at the start of this video that I have a copy, a VHS copy no less, of the Bohemian Rhapsody music video. But, that was important to me growing up and my appreciation of great music and great music videos and the artistry of music. But it was even more important to the music industry because while music videos are commonplace now, and they're not just even commonplace, in the age of YouTube, they're a requirement. They get you those hits. They get you that love. They get you that following. But Bohemian Rhapsody, that music video was released 7 years before MTV, when MTV was actually about music. It was basically the argument for MTV. It became this whole new way to market your singles. And not just because the song was great, as you should probably know, but because the video was great as well. It opens with that famous shot of the band, but they're in silhouette as they run through the acapella, only fading into the light as the instruments roll in, and this crossfade of Freddie Mercury gets superimposed over the whole thing before transitioning into Freddie and bassist John Deacon simply performing the song, eventually including Brian May and Roger Taylor again. And while the lips never quite sync up perfectly to the studio version of the song, which you can quickly notice, when it cuts from that to the silhouette again, to the vocals, I see a little silhouette of a man, and the video takes on this dreamlike fantasy quality. You have to imagine, back in 1975, when people were being floored by the special effects in Jaws, that was a pretty damn cool video. It was directed by Bruce Gowers, who's done everything from American Idol to President Bill Clinton's inaugural concert at the Lincoln Memorial, and recorded in just about 4 hours. And the coolest little bit of trivia that I think that I've seen about the video, all the special effects, they weren't done in editing. They were done while filming, where it looks like there are multiple bands singing Thunderbolts and Lightning, done by putting a prism in front of the camera. Where it looks like Freddie Mercury is fading into infinity, like when you're sandwiched between two mirrors, done by pointing the camera at the TV monitor. Which I don't think you could really do with the TVs of today. I just don't think you can get that same visual effect. But you can kind of get an analogous audio version of that same thing. Just call 2 phones in the same room and put them next to each other. You know, you start hearing that ding, 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 and the echoing. That's pretty much exactly what they did for the Bohemian Rhapsody video. And, you know, I would be very remiss to not point out that there was another version of the Bohemian Rhapsody video that was released in conjunction with the Wayne's World release back in 1992. Now, Bohemian Rhapsody had fallen out of favor a bit by the time Wayne's World was released. It just wasn't really being played at all. Not even on classic rock stations, which may come as a bit of a shock given today's audience, where you hear that maybe at least once a week if you listen to the classic rock stations. But thanks to Wayne's World and a 1992 early budget, I think it came out in January or February, a re-release of the single kind of tied in to the anniversary of Freddie Mercury's death, it re-entered the Billboard 100 after 16 years, ending up at number 2. And that reissue of the music video, it splices in clips from the film and live footage of the band into the original video to, I would say, mixed results, though it did win Queen their only MTV Video Music Award for Best Video from a Film. It's a weird video. It's nowhere near up to par with the original video. And Mike Myers, who played, of course, Wayne in Wayne's World, kind of agrees with me. He said when he found out this video was being recut, he said it was basically like they've just whizzed on a Picasso. And he actually reached out and apologized to Queen. You know, Freddie Mercury was already dead, but he did apologize to remaining members, who simply wrote back and said, "Thank you for using our song." Man, I am so glad he insisted on using the video. I'm so glad it had this resurgence. Imagine the world today if Bohemian Rhapsody was this lost classic, if it was just the thing that people didn't listen to, if it was not this carpool karaoke sensation. And, you know, I should say, the official version of Bohemian Rhapsody is 5 minutes and 55 seconds long. But there is a shorter version of the song as well. Released only in France, it was cut down to 3 minutes and 18 seconds. And it starts with this slightly longer piano intro to the ballad, completely loses the operatic bits, and transitions from the guitar solo right into the headbanging climax. It's, maybe not so surprisingly, not nearly anywhere as good as the original version. And it was never released anywhere else. But thank you to the power of the internet, because we can watch it on YouTube. We can listen to it on YouTube. It's a very fascinating little piece of history that I would suggest you go listen to. I'll include a link below where you can go listen to it, just for the comparisons to the original. But I do have to say, it really loses its oomph, its power, its tension, its storyline. But wait, what storyline? We don't know what the original was about, right? Well, kind of. Maybe we did. Kind of. Freddie Mercury refused to explain the song to anyone other than other members of the band. And the other members of the band, they're not talking. They won't confirm or deny anything. But that doesn't stop anyone else from trying to figure it out, right? And people have tried. I'm trying right now. But the people have written books about it. People have written articles about it all over the years. There are some, and I couldn't find any scholarly articles about it, but there are a whole lot of Reddit posts about this who think that Bohemian Rhapsody was based on the 1942 Albert Camus novel, The Outsider, or The Stranger in the U.S., which is about a man who attends his mother's funeral and then inadvertently, sort of impulsively, kills a man. I haven't read the book. I'm not going to read the book. But you can see the similarities there. Mama just killed a man. I don't want to die. And the guy in the book, he gets sentenced to death. I should mention that. The whole bit there where he seems to have gone to hell or something like that, that all seems tied into this book. You can see the comparisons there. I don't know if Freddie Mercury ever read it. I don't know if he ever read a review of it. But I can see that being a potential inspiration for the song, definitely. But others think the lyrics are just kind of random rhyming nonsense. Radio DJ Kenny Everett, who we'll talk about a bit more in just a couple minutes, he quoted Freddie Mercury as basically saying exactly that. That's also a definite possibility, especially when you consider all of the allusions that are packed into the song. There are a lot of references within the song. It's kind of like the Paradise Lost of songs. So we have Scaramouche, a stock character from the Italian clown tradition Commedia dell'arte, known as a fool who's adept at getting himself out of trouble, as well as, of course, Galileo, the 16th century astronomer, Figaro, presumably the one from the Barber of Seville and not Disney's Pinocchio, Beelzebub, who's basically Satan, and Bismillah, which isn't a character, but a word from the Quran meaning, in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. But all of these references, though potentially random, potentially nonsense, they could hint at a deeper meaning, couldn't they? There could be something there, and there have been a lot of interpretations, there have been a lot of guesses as to what this actually means, from being a reference to the AIDS that eventually did Freddie Mercury in, although the timeline on that really doesn't make sense, and I don't see that as working out. Freddie Mercury's partner, Jim Hutton, said he was diagnosed with AIDS in late April 1987. So that doesn't really make sense at all. Some say it was about his sexuality. Some say it was about, Freddie Mercury being kicked out of Zanzibar when he was, not kicked out, but being forced out of Zanzibar when he was a younger child. There are so many guesses as to what this song will be. There are probably more guesses than there are vocal tracks in this song. Brian May, in the DVD release of Queen's Greatest Hits, he summed it up this way. What is Bohemian Rhapsody about? Well, I don't think we'll ever know. And if I knew, I probably wouldn't want to tell you anyway. I find that it destroys them in a way because the great thing about a great song is that you relate it to your own personal experiences in your own life. I think that Freddie was certainly battling with problems in his personal life, which he might have decided to put into the song himself. So then, perhaps we should take a deeper look at the man behind the song. He was born Farrokh Basura on September 5th, 1946 in Stone Town in the Sultanate of Zanzibar, now part of Tanzania. He started learning the piano at the age of 7, and at 12 he formed a school cover band, the Hectics. And it was around this time, as apparently he was listening to a whole lot of Western pop music, that he started to go by the more English Freddie. At 17, he and his family had to flee thanks to the 1964 Zanzibar Revolution, which led to the deaths of thousands of Arabs and Indians, and they wound up in Middlesex, England. He earned a diploma in art and graphic design at Ealing Art College, especially notable because it was Freddie Mercury himself who designed the Queen band logo, called the Queen Crest, which combines the zodiac signs of all 4 members of the band with a number of other symbols, and bears a resemblance to the royal coat of arms. And then bounced around a couple of bands, including, picking up on the members of Smile and forming Queen in 1970. Again, a band that he named. It's very regal, obviously, he said of the name, and it sounds splendid. It's a strong name, very universal and immediate. I was certainly aware of the gay connotations, but that was just one facet of it. Now, this isn't a dissection about Queen, so I'm not going to go into their full history here, which is pretty extravagant. And you can read about it more online, or maybe the Bohemian Rhapsody movie will focus on, or did focus on it, depending on when you're watching this. But after signing a deal with Trident/EMI, Queen released their self-titled debut album in 1973, though it didn't do much by way of sales. Their second album, though, aptly titled Queen 2, did. And you might recognize that cover image there, as the imagery was used as the basis for the Bohemian Rhapsody video. Bohemian Rhapsody, by the way, was from their fourth studio album. Again, appropriately titled A Night at the Opera. But it owed a whole heck of a lot to the stylistic evolutions evident in their third studio album, Sheer Heart Attack. Again, you can read more about Queen everywhere. I mean, you could probably read about Freddie Mercury everywhere, but dang it, I want to talk about him, so let's talk about him a little bit more. In the early 1970s, Brian May introduced Freddie Mercury. He picked up his new last name from the song My Fairy King, from particularly this line, Mother Mercury, look what they've done to me. So Brian May introduces Freddie Mercury to Mary Austin. Brian and her used to date, but they ended up on friendly enough terms, and Freddie and her end up living together for several years. The only friend I've got is Mary, Freddie said in 1985, and I don't want anybody else. To me, she was my common-law wife. To me, it was a marriage. We believe in each other. That's enough for me. But Mary wasn't enough, and by the mid-70s, Freddie had entered into his first known affair with a man, an American executive at Elektra Records, whose name I could not find anywhere. And in December 1976, about a full year after Bohemian Rhapsody was released, Freddie went to Mary and said to her that he thought he was bisexual, to which Mary responded, "No, Freddie, I think you're gay." So think about that. While writing Bohemian Rhapsody, Freddie Mercury is trying to figure himself out. He's trying to work through this complete redirection of his life. He only had, just about only, I think there was one example counter to this, but he only had relationships with men after this point. So he's going through all this, and you can see it now, the difficulties that people have with coming out, with coming to terms with who they are. And this is back then. This is a very different society than what we have today. So he was going through all this and writing Bohemian Rhapsody at the same time. There, you can see why there might be some sort of meaning there, right? Sir Tim Rice, who you might know from The Lion King and a number of other musicals, and who was also a collaborator with Freddie Mercury, said this about Bohemian Rhapsody. Every time I hear the record on the radio, I think of Freddie trying to shake off one Freddie and embracing another, even all these years after his death. Do I think he managed it? I think he was in the process of managing it rather well. So might it make sense that Bohemian Rhapsody mirrors this journey? Freddie was exploring. He was exploring his life. He was exploring his sexuality. He was exploring what it meant to his future. And isn't Bohemian Rhapsody also an exploration of styles, of works, of process? Was Freddie channeling his life into this song? Was this his confession? Well, his partner and longtime lover Jimmy Hutton, he seemed to think so. In an interview with biographer Leslie Ann Jones, he said, Bohemian Rhapsody was Freddie's confessional. It was about how different his life could have been, and how much happier he might have been had he just been able to be himself, the whole of his life. The world heard this song as a masterpiece of imagination, a great command of musical styles. It was this remarkable tapestry. It was so intricate and had so many layers, but the message, if hidden, was simple. Bohemian Rhapsody was Freddie as he truly was. There's this great scene in the trailer for the Bohemian Rhapsody movie. A record executive who's just listened to the song, presumably, says to Freddie Mercury, the thing is over 6 minutes long. And we get this great response from Rami Malek's Freddie Mercury. He says, I pity your wife if you think 6 minutes is forever. Even other musicians told the band that the song was never going to be played on the radio. We may never have gotten that full cut, that full exploration from Freddie, we might have just been stuck with that altered French cut, that 3-minute version. Which, what would that have done to Freddie Mercury, if he couldn't have released it? So I guess we owe a great deal of debt to DJ Kenny Everett, who was a close friend of Freddie Mercury, and who got an advanced copy of Bohemian Rhapsody before the studio even accepted it. And he teased it, and he teased it, and eventually he played the full thing for his audience, who demanded that he release this brand new Queen single. Yes, he played it. He ended up playing it 36 times in one day. When it eventually released as a single, it would stay on top of the UK singles chart for 9 straight weeks, sell more than 1 million copies by the end of January 1976, was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2004, and has been covered by everyone from Elton John to Weird Al, and probably most recently by Panic at the Disco for use in the Suicide Squad trailer. So I guess, as the song says, it really doesn't matter. Nothing really matters. It doesn't matter what this song is about, because we got to experience it. We got to experience the mastery that is Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody. That's really all that matters. It means what it means to you. To me, it is the beginning of me fully appreciating music. To you, it could be anything. And it should be anything. To bring it back full circle, the record executive in Bohemian Rhapsody, the one who says it's too long for radio, played by the one and only Mike Myers.
No way.
This has been Drunk on Writing's dissection of the Bohemian Rhapsody, Queen's masterpiece. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Please leave a comment below and let me know that you enjoyed it. And if you really did, please head on over to patreon.com/drunkonwriting and sign up to be a patron, where you can get exclusive videos, extra bonus merchandise, extra bonus everything. I pack a whole hell of a lot in there, and I really enjoy doing this, and I hope you enjoy it as well. Until next time, cheers, and keep on writing. Oh, and enjoy the movie.